A very warm welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 31st July 2020. Today is Friday. I would like to start today's discussion with this quote by Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Very important statement, and this particular statement fits the occasion because today we are going to talk about new latest National Education Policy 2020. But before that, I would like to introduce all of you to our smart course. StudyIQ team has designed a smart course. This smart course is for Civil Services Examination. It covers your pre as well as mains examination. Today is 31st July and today is the last date for EMI offer. Make the most out of this offer, and to find out more about it, all you have to do is download our mobile application on your phone. You can download the PDF of today's lecture from my Telegram channel. Dear friends, please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So dear friends, today, as I told you, we are going to talk about National Education Policy 2020, one of the most important topic. The reason why I find this topic very important is because, first of all, if you are preparing for Civil Services Examination or State Public Service Commission Examination, if you go through your syllabus, then you will find that education is a very important topic of your syllabus. If you go through past papers, then as well you will find that questions on education appear in mains examination every year. Then today's discussion, if once we'll go through it, then you will realize that they can ask you a question. You can find a topic of your essay based on education. For example, education system of our country or education system of India. You have to write an essay on this thing. This is a very hot topic. It's a kind of topic that you can expect in your essay paper as well. They can ask you a question about latest education policy in your interview as well. So basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that this is a very important topic. Now, today's discussion is going to be a little bit different from our regular discussion because normally what happens is that we go through so many articles, and these articles are about various different topics. Today, when I started reading newspapers, I found two articles in the Hindu newspaper based on this topic. Then I was sure that we are going to find some more articles in different newspapers. So I found one article, one editorial to be precise, in Times of India. Two articles, one editorial, one article in Indian Express. And I found two articles in Hindustan Times as well. So I have gone through how many? 6, 7 plus few news items to bring all these points together. I was going to present individual articles to you, but then I realized that so many points are overlapping, and that will make it a bit more boring as well as confusing, because when I was going through this many articles, I also found it quite confusing. So I have tried my level best to bifurcate this whole topic into few main points. We are going to start with background. From background, we will talk about right to education. We are going to talk about federal structure of our country, like how this federal structure will impact our education. Then we are going to do reality check, like things that are going on or things that have been going on till now and in near future as well, till this whole new education policy will become a proper law. Till then we are going to follow the old system, isn't it? So reality check we are going to do, and then we will go through some other points as well, right? And then I have one bottom line or few things that we need to keep in mind that we will talk about in the end portion of this discussion, right? So let's crack on. New National Education Policy 2020 is approved by Cabinet on 29th July, and this policy comes with a big ray of hope for our country. As Nelson Mandela has said, and I thoroughly agree with him, that education is one of the most powerful tool, one of the most powerful thing that can change an individual, it can change a family, it can change a society, it can change a state or a country or our whole world. You can compare two families. A family, and I'm talking about general average families. I'm not talking about some exception cases where an individual is not educated, but then as well he or she is a big shot. That means he or she is successful in business or some other fields, right? I'm not talking about those few cases. Generally speaking, if you see a family that is well educated and a family that is less educated or not educated, then you will see a considerable difference in their standard of living, in terms of health, in terms of their quality of life, in terms of the things they can afford, and so many other things, right? So education is, of course, one of the most important thing, and the latest NEP 2020. If I say NEP or NEP 2020, I'm talking about National Education Policy 2020, okay? So NEP 2020's main goal is transforming the system to meet the needs of 21st century India. Dear friends, we know that we are living in a world, in an era that is going through constant change. Now, earlier days as well, constant change was there, but the speed of change, the time of change was quite slow compared to today's era. Unfortunately, the current national policy was designed 34 years ago. It took 34 years for us to come out with new education policy. The current education policy was drafted back in 1980s. It underwent modification in 1992, but okay, for argument's sake, 1991 is the year when we opened our doors for this LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. This economical reforms took place, but it took many years for us to realize or to see the fruits of this LPG reforms. Digital technology, it was limited to few selected spheres. But today we are living in a digital world. So we need to have definitely an up-to-date education policy. Right to education concept was not there when we designed this education policy back in 1980s or 34 years ago. After 15 years or something like that, this RTE came into being. And a few days ago, we were talking about this 2030 sustainable goals as well. Education is part of it, and transforming so many things. You need education as your solid base. So this is a good start, a good ray of hope, but we have to accept this fact that our pace of reforms is utterly, utterly bad. It took nearly 5 years and 2 committees. I want you guys to remember the name of these committees. The first is TSR Subramaniam Committee of 2016. It delivered its report back in 2016, and in 2019, this K. Kasturi Rangan Committee delivered its report, and it took nearly 5 years and 2 committees' report to reach to this point when our government or we have delivered a new national education policy. We have to understand this thing, right? And this is very important. This is going to be our last point of discussion. But I want you guys to hold this thought in your mind that alone government can't do nothing. We need support of private players as well. And this is very important. I do understand that in our country, there are so many families, they cannot afford quality education. They don't have that much money to pay fees for those expensive private schools. But private schools, we have to accept this fact as well. There are so many good private schools and colleges and universities. They have set their benchmarks. They have created that thing. They have created that level. And unfortunately, there are few exceptions, but most of our government schools, they are not performing at that level. I do understand many of you will disagree with me, but I know this thing for sure that there are good teachers, there are good schools, public schools, government schools, but there are so many of them, and if you see the total number, then only a small chunk of this private schools, public schools are performing at max level. Rest of them, they are just there. There are so many colleges, so many schools. If you don't go there, then as well you will get degrees, and this sort of things are also going on, and this is very unfortunate for our country. Anyway, at present we have we are a very young nation, isn't it? 65% of our population is below 35 years age. 50% population is below 25 years age. So we are a very young nation, and this is the right time to give that skills and give that education to our youngsters, and then we will see the benefits of these things in next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. The stage of development where we are at present, we need support of education, good quality education with skills. And our youngsters, they have their own aspirations. All of you, see yourselves, you have your aspirations, you want so many things from life, and this is something that is very natural to expect. It is not being greedy, it is being very realistic and very practical. So in 21st century, we need mobility, we need flexibility, we need interdisciplinary approach. This is something that I have always the day since I learned this thing back in 2008, the importance of interdisciplinary approach, and since then I have always tried to see everything from interdisciplinary point of view. I'll give you one example: history and geography. If you're reading history and if you don't have good understanding or basic understanding about geography, then you will learn history, you will remember dates, you will analyze things, but you will never understand, you will never reach that deep level. For example, I'll give you a very quick example. There are so many things that we can talk about, and I have talked about so many things in the Hindi version, and I'm going to do the same. I'm not going to compromise with the quality, but the thing is, being very quick, okay, there are so many things that we have to talk, so let me quickly give you an example. There are some registered 34, 35 invasions on our country, and you will see that out of 35, 34 came from land area, from northwestern part. I'm talking about Punjab and Afghanistan and Pakistan, this region. All people came from this region. Why they never came from northeastern part? Because you have Himalayas. It's very difficult to cross. It looks very simple, isn't it? But when you're reading history, if you don't see it from geographical point of view, then you will not get that cutting edge. Right? So this is just one example of interdisciplinary approach. So in 21st century, this is a key. Now, from federal point of view, in our country, we live in a federal system. We have central government and states, isn't it? So education is a state subject. So if you want to make any changes with education, then you need to have states on board. So central government, big task, big challenge for central government is going to build this consensus. I have one idea. What about an education system, educational council based on GST concept? In GST council, we have states as well as center. So we can have one educational council where we can have education minister of our country, and then we can have education ministers from various different states, and decisions can be taken by consensus. So this is something that we need to explore. The most interesting change in National Education Policy or NEP is the renamed Parakh. This Parakh is going to this is name of a topic or a thing. So Parakh is, the main aim of Parakh is to redesign, assessment and standardize the 60 education boards across the country. We have 60 education boards in our country, and this Parakh is going to redesign and standardize all of them. Here as well, we would need more cooperation from states and all across the board. Then we have to understand that there is lack of resources and capacity when it comes to various different states. I'll give you an example of northeastern states. If you observe the schemes of northeastern states, then you will realize that earlier on 90% was given by central government and 10% was contributed by state governments, but this has been changed to 100%, and the reason is that northeastern states, they are beautiful, they have their own unique selling propositions or their strengths, but when it comes to finances, they are a little bit weak compared to other states. And even today, there are so many states, northeastern states, they don't have enough money to regularly pay to their government employees, and here as well central government has to give extra money to these states. So this is just one example that we don't have equal resources all across the board. Some states, you have to give them extra money, you have to give them extra infrastructure money, and it's not just about money, it's about so many other things as well. So we have to create a platform where everyone is equal. Every state is equal in terms of resources and capacity. So that is going to be a big challenge. Then we have a dozen of mother tongues, and then creating a sync between various different states. That's going to be a big challenge as well. What about English? See, the thing is, mother tongue or local language plays a very important role in early days, to learn so many things. The language that you know naturally is, of course, something that is going to be your strength in understanding so many things. But then you have to learn other languages as well. For example, English. Like, English is not our mother tongue, but we have to learn English because English is, whether we like it or not, there are so many people, they don't like English, they are always resistant. But I think English is a very important language because we find so many things, and globally as well, English is more likely a global language. I know that Arabic is a language that is spoken by most people, and then you have not Arabic, but I think Cantonese, isn't it? Chinese language, Cantonese. Not Cantonese, I think Mandarin. Cantonese is where they speak in Hong Kong. So Mandarin is a language that is spoken by most people, and then comes Arabic, and then comes English. But still, English is more like a global language. So we have to inculcate that. We have to train our students with English as well. Then fee regulation, right? There are so many states, they still have this fee regulation that you cannot charge about this much amount of fee. But in many schools, on paper, they will charge you that much fee, but then they will collect a donation from you. So how we are going to deal with it? This particular scheme is, so far, what I have read in today's newspaper, I don't find anything profound on this eliminating donations. Then the policy inter alia aims to eliminate problems of pedagogy. Pedagogy means teaching skills or teaching. Structural inequalities, excess asymmetries, and rampant commercialization. So these are the things that policy tries to eliminate, right? Problems with teaching and pedagogy, it is trying to eliminate it. Structural inequalities, it will try to make everything more equal or fair. The idea of National Higher Education Regulatory Council as an apex control organization is bound to be resented by states if we don't find states' participation in this thing. Similarly, a national body for aptitude tests would have to convince the states of its merits. Right, now talking about some structural changes that this NEP is trying to inculcate. Early childhood education means kids or toddlers from the age of 3 will be part of education policy. It offers a school board examination twice a year to help improve performance, move away from rote learning. We have been trying to do this thing for a very long period of time, but this is more like a big, deep disease. Rote mathematicals, rise mathematical skills for everyone. We go through so many reports here and then that survey is conducted, and then we find that class 5 students, they cannot read, they cannot do simple maths. So this sort of things, we need to get rid of it. And the new system is going to be 4-year undergraduate college degree system, create Higher Education Commission of India. Now let's do some reality check. When it comes to poor literacy and numeracy outcomes, primary schools are very bad. When it comes to dropout levels, we find most dropouts at middle as well as secondary school level. Higher education system has generally failed to meet the aspiration of multidisciplinary programs. Few days ago, we were talking about this thing. Remember, there is a big gap between what industry is seeking and what your colleges and schools are teaching you. The policy also says that wherever possible, the medium of instruction in schools until at least class 5, but preferably until class 8 and beyond, will be the home language or mother tongue or regional language. Okay, we accept this thing. We have already talked about this thing a few minutes ago, but role of English should be appreciated. Then why not multilingual kids or multilingual felicity? Right, this can be our USP. We can deal with other countries. The reason why we got all this business process outsourcing is because of this history of English language in our country. There are so many countries like they are facing this difficulty. But you have cases like China as well. But I don't think so. English is a bit of problem for us because it has been part of our history. Britishers were here for nearly 200 years. So they have been here. Means we find this culture like drinking tea was never part of our culture, but now drinking tea is a very common thing. It's all because of this British culture. So this is our history, whether we like it or not, right? History is something that is static. It's our point of view that we say this is good or bad. history. Things have already been done. Right now, it is up to us, like what we can learn from that thing. So, rather than hating or resisting English, I think we should, create. Means our kids. We should teach them this language. Then there is nothing difficult with English, right? Too much of grammar is also not necessary. We speak so many languages: Hindi, English. We never care about grammar. I'm not saying that you should not pay attention to grammar, but the thing is that if you pay too much attention to this sort of details, technical details, then you will never learn art. And language is all about art. A strong desire of parents for English language, and this is a reality. We have to understand that your customer is parents, your consumer is your kids, or your school coming kids, or college coming kids, or so parents are the ones who are going to pay the fees. So if there is a strong demand of English language in parents, right? They cannot speak, but they want their kids to speak English, and this is a reality. So what about that? So we have to keep a fine balance. But here I think, not I think, but the central government has clearly stated that means it's not necessary that English, means here central government is not trying to kill English language, but here central government is, with this NEP, central government is giving this flexibility that states as well as institutions, they can decide what is best for them. But then we don't want to see politics on this thing, right? There cannot be a sort of straight jacket when it comes to language. Then talking about straight jackets, it has also tried, and it now it all depends on your implementation. But as far as theory is concerned, arts, commerce, and science. Early on it was like science was given the highest importance, then commerce, and then arts. But now these barriers, these walls are broken now, right? They are collapsed now as far as theory is concerned. Every subject is going to get equal attention. NEP proposes, now let's talk from RT, that is right to education point of view. From from year 3 to 18, every kid will be covered under RTE, right? So RTE is extended. Early childhood care is crucial, and this is the reason why 3 to 6 years age group, early on it was not covered under education policy, but now 3 to 6 years age group is also covered under NEP. NEP has covered this thing. New policy has recognized this failure of RTE. RTE was more about, or so far it was more about accessibility, that send your kids to school, right? Or maximum enrollment was the main focus. But now we realize that just maximum enrollment is not good. Learning outcomes should also match your enrollment ratio or enrollment numbers. So more attention will be paid to learning outcome. At the same time, a fine balance will be kept with accessibility as well. A very important thing for poor family kids, right? If imagine those parents who are doing labor work at construction site or agricultural field, then particularly for the mothers, right, they have to wake up early, they have to prepare lunch as well as breakfast, and then they will send the kid to school, and then they will leave for their work. But here what happens is, if kids are provided energy filled breakfast, and if they are provided nutritious midday meal, their health, their malnutrition level will drop, their learning outcome will improve. At the same time, that poor family, that mother and father, they don't have to, of course they love to look after their kids, but they can use their time for work, and that will be less stressful basically. Then this NEP is also talking about inclusion funds to help socially and educationally disadvantaged children pursue education. There could be a worthier goal of 50% GER, gross enrollment ratio in higher education, by 2035, up from current 26%. We are going to talk about this point as we move on. NEP really disappoints here by failing to allow for-profit education. Now, this is something that I don't agree with. Means why government wants to clip the wings of profit education institutions, right? They are not doing any illegal business. They are doing legit business. What I think government should do is government should increase its capacity. Public schools as well as public colleges and universities capacities can be enhanced by government by boosting so many other resources, so many other new culture and structure. those institutions who are performing very well, let them do that, because that's what we used to do before all these mobile companies came in. Remember the days of BSNL? BSNL was the only telephone service provider, and for a month or so your phones used to be dead or in dead situation. But then came private players, and today we are in 4G, and hopefully in near future we will step into 5G. All this is possible because of competition. So competition is beneficial for customers and consumers. You have to keep this thing in mind as well. So let private players compete with your government institutions, isn't it? On top of this, private higher education institutions are being told to offer more free ships and scholarships. Okay, they will provide, but what about the money and support? Are government bodies providing money? Under RTA, the big problem is that government will ask you to take these kids in your school, enroll them, and government will pay money. But when government is not paying money on time, then this creates a bad thing for the school, as well as now the blame will go on to that small kid. People will, or institution will, see that kid as a burden rather than a flower. So this is over-regulation. If you are trying to clip for profit, and if you are asking for free ships and scholarships, then government should pay money in time or in advance. NEP talks about improving foundational literacy and numeracy. These are some game-changing elements in NEP. It promises greater flexibility and skills to students, autonomy to educational institutions, right? You can choose any subjects you like. All subjects are equal. Good thing, but the only thing is again, parents, right? Parents would like to see their kids get mastery in one particular subject. So it will take a bit of time. It's a good start. I'm not saying this is bad, but it will take some time for us to digest this, or to sink this whole new policy. And more importance will be given on critical thinking. Now, this is possible if you provide that culture. Teachers, right? Teachers should be able to create that environment of critical thinking. There are so many able teachers, but there are so many of them, they are not doing this thing. They are just doing it as their job rather than their career. There is a big difference when you are doing something just for your survival, and when you are doing something for higher purpose. So this is the culture that we want to see in education. Then importance of classroom. It's a very important thing. Digital platforms are good, but they are not sufficient. Classrooms are good, but then you need touch of digital technology as well. So they are not two things, they are one. We need to see it from a unison point of view, right? They are joined together in today's era. So we need to train our teachers with digital education system, and classroom are important for self-development, for personal development. Your experiences when we were in school, right? We used to fight, we used to laugh, we used to share food, we used to do so many things together. So all these things have created us a unique human being. This is our interaction with the world. Focus on teacher training for schools, very important thing, right? Continuous training of teachers is also one of the most important things, because teachers play a very important role in delivering or honing that skills in kids. Educating girls, freedom for university courses length and other things. And teachers are just going to teach now, right? They are not going to do your election duty. They are not going to do your lockdown duty. They are just going to focus on teaching. That is very important. Technology remains an area of promise, but there is inadequate clarity on this thing. We need more clarity on it, and we have this digital divide between various different states and families as well. Few families, they have computers and smartphones and tablets for their kids. Few families, they don't have it. So how we are going to fulfill it? That's a big question. The idea of lower stake board exams is very welcome, but requirement for all students to take exams in grade 3, 5 and 8 is also worrying. I think board exam is a big hype, and that is created by adults. Sorry for being too much blunt here, but what a kid has to do in board examination, he or she has to do regular things, right? Study, practice, revise, do a little bit of go outdoors and do play, right? That will keep you healthy, get good sleep, and very simple things, right? These are the things that you need to do, and that's what you do. That's what normal thing is that you do in your 8th standard or 9th standard or your board. Board is something that is, board is like Mount Everest. a sort of mythical Mount Everest that is created by adults, that our kid is in board now, we have to pay special attention. No, don't create this sort of things. This will create, huge stress on that kid. Just tell him to be regular, tell him to be consistent, right? Support him or her, and that's it, right? He or she will create board with flying colors. NEP 2020 proposes multidisciplinary higher education framework, portable credits, multiple exits with certificates, diplomas and degrees. More clarification is required on this thing, but what I understand from this point is that let's say if you reach second year of your college, and if you want to finish that thing, if you don't want to continue third and fourth year, then you can step out and you will be given degrees or certificates saying that you have completed till here, or there will be different layers of certificates. So we have to wait and watch for more clarification on this particular thing. Now, as far as gross enrollment ratio, I told you to hold this point for time being. The thing is, at present, gross enrollment ratio at 2018 was 26.3%. By 2035, we are trying to achieve 50%. Now, the question is, in last 70 years, we have reached here, then how we are going to reach 50% in 15 years? So that's a big question. Colleges, rather than being affiliated with universities, they will be made autonomous degree granting institutions. So that's a good thing. The problem is with inspection. Too much of inspection is bad, but too little of inspection is also bad. So government is talking about light but tight oversight. So again, right, more clarification is required how we are going to achieve it, right? Because we find so many colleges, they exist on paper, and they are there, but if you visit these colleges, then they are in small house, no kids are there, right? Just administration, they collect fee, give you degrees. So this sort of things are also going on. So how we are going to get rid of this sort of colleges who are just distributing degrees in return of fees. Ancient Indian languages and Indic knowledge is going to be part of new education system. Very interesting, very good thing. And the bottom line is, dear friends, that there are so many things that we will find in coming days. But one thing is there, that if we want to achieve all these things, then we need minimum 6% of our GDP. We have to invest 6% of our GDP after education. And the way things are going on, right, we need money for healthcare, national security, other key sectors. Current tax to GDP ratio is also not that great. So how we are going to achieve all these things is a big question. But that does not mean that I am ending this discussion with a negative note. No, it is a ray of hope, right? Nothing is perfect. As we do it, we can make it more perfect. We can try to make it better and better. There is nothing like perfection, but we can constantly and continuously, we can do things that can improve a particular sector or a particular policy. So that's what our aim should be, rather than, okay, till now, after 34 years, we have upgraded or launched a new policy. But now what we need to do is every year we need to do its appraisal. Constant change, constant upgradation is something that we need to do with policy as well, not just with teachers and education institutions. And that's everything from my side, dear friends. As you can see that we have talked about one particular topic in detail. So we are beaten by the clock. We don't have enough time to go through all the news items, but they are very easy to understand news items, trust me. So all you have to do is download the PDF and go through these news items here. Pay attention to this thing. I want you guys to do a little bit of research on this lepcha culture, right? You may find one question MCQ in your upcoming prelims. And that's everything. Thank you very much for watching this video. God bless you all. Jai Hind.